Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Limbus Company video. It's been a while since my last video. There's no real reason as to why I haven't really been making videos recently. It's not like I have a lack of content or anything, considering the fact that I haven't even touched either of the two new railways, but hopefully I'm back for good this time, or at least I do hope I will be. One of the main reasons why I take so many breaks, honestly, is because making videos is more of like a hobby for me, and because of that it's not part of my normal schedule in order to actually sit down and make videos. It's just basically whenever I feel like making them, I make them, and because of that I don't really feel obligated in order to make any videos, and thus anytime something comes up, no matter how small or insignificant it is, I can very easily convince myself that it's enough to just not make any videos that day, or that week, or that month. Point is, I'm going to be trying to make it into my normal schedule, so hopefully, uploads will be much more consistent from now on. No promises though, because I really can't keep any promises, to be honest. But anyways, enough about that. To get back into the swing of things, I got a bit of a shorter video here. I did an extreme mode run using my favorite identity, the Queen of Hatred, Don Quixote. And I'm not going to be showing the whole thing because, frankly, it's not that interesting. Except, of course, for this one single fight. The only hidden boss that I got in the entire run was Matthias on floor 13. That's a decent floor to get the first hidden boss on, because it's not a complete pushover like if you got him on floor 11 or 12. But he's also not as ridiculously difficult as he would be if you got him on floor 14 or 15. So, yeah, I think floor 13 is like that perfect... It's the perfect middle ground of balancing both difficulty without extending into the realm of ridiculousness. Now, of course, with that said, Matthias is still a really difficult boss, like no matter what floor you get him on, simply because counters are evil in extreme mode. They just straight up are. Because they just do so much damage, and there's basically nothing you can do to, well, counter the counters. And it's just the middle's gimmick, so of course the middle nurse father is the one who has the most counters. Of course, as long as you have some sort of consistent healing with every one of your attacks, it is very manageable in order to actually work around the counters. And for this fight specifically, we do actually have that. Both in the form of Grey Coat, the typical one when using an ego skill, and also because we're an identity that does blunt damage, we can take advantage of the Boombox of Dramatic Entry ego gift, which allows you to heal 5% of the damage you deal with any blunt skill. And both of those ego gifts basically make it so that anytime we do any damage with any of our skills, we heal back to full health after they have completed their attack. So really, the counters and unbreakable coins in this fight, they don't really make much of a difference as long as we are able to use an attack afterwards. And that's where most of the actual challenge of this fight comes in, because, simply put, the actual real threat in this fight is Kira, not Matthias. It's Kira, because she does so much damage on turn 2 specifically that you need to stagger or defeat her before she has a chance to even attack in that turn. Which is why the best course of action that I've found to actually be able to defeat her effectively is by forcing corrosion into the Queen of Hatred's ego. And that barely gives enough damage into Kira in order to defeat her on turn 2. For this fight, we also have the Sharp Needle and Thread ego gift, which is worth mentioning because it is it is one of the most powerful ego gifts in the game. No, it is the most powerful ego gift in the game. And it really does help to push us over the threshold and be able to beat Kira. In fact, I feel like if we didn't have that ego gift, we wouldn't have enough damage to be able to beat her on turn 2. So it's a good thing that was in our loadout. But then, of course, after you defeat Kira, Matthias is on his own, and he's still pretty scary, honestly. Like, genuinely, we have to use all 3 of our revives on turn 2 just because of the damage he deals, and that's why you need to defeat Kira, because Matthias on his own, he still does a lot of damage. Enough to, yeah, basically delete our health bar 3 times over. Like it's nothing. And Kira does that as well, which is why I need to defeat her, and yeah. But in any case, it is still pretty manageable in order to get through all of Matthias' health bar pretty easily, mostly because of the boombox, like I said, since his unbreakable coins and his counter skills, they really don't make much of a difference, considering we just heal back to full health after every single one of his attacks he does. So, up until he uses his second unboxing attack, he's pretty free, honestly. And I say that it's pretty free up until the second unboxing attack, because unlike the first unboxing, his second one actually has an extra coin, and with that extra coin, he can very, very consistently delete our entire health bar with that one skill alone, even if we win the clash against it. The only consistent way where he doesn't delete our entire health bar is if he happens to roll tails on every single one of the coins, which, with sinking damage, it's not that unlikely for that to happen, but it's still a looming threat, nonetheless. And of course, in the actual successful run where we did that, well, Matthias is sitting around like 9,000 health-ish. He sits around, what is it, 9,162 health? That's his health bar when he uses the second unboxing skill. And the thing with that is it's just barely enough health so that no matter what we do, we can't actually defeat him consistently. Technically speaking, I do believe it might be possible with a skill 3 if we roll all heads on it, and then the sharp needle and thread does an extra 3,000 damage, since we do around like 6,000 damage with a single skill 3, and the sharp needle would double that, or not double that, but it would do half the amount of damage. And then the extra bit of rupture damage on top of that should be enough to finish him off at the health threshold that he ends up as. However, the problem with that is that winning the clash with the skill 3 in the first place is very unreliable, considering the fact that our sanity is so low at that same time, and the fact that he can potentially just outroll us very, very easily. And if we happen to lose even a single coin in that clash, then automatically it's like we can no longer defeat him with the skill 3. So there's just so much RNG in this fight in order to actually be able to get the maximum amount of damage on that final turn with the skill 3, because you need to roll all heads on the actual attack itself, and you need to win the clash when you're basically at neutral sanity without breaking a single coin. It's just not the most reliable thing in the world, so that's why I choose instead to use an ego skill, just because it's more reliable in terms of clashing, even though it's not going to be doing nearly enough damage in order to defeat Matthias before he uses his unboxing skill. But thankfully, as I said, as long as he rolls all tails on his attacks, we can actually survive. So all it really takes is enough retries and resets, and this fight's not actually all that bad, all things considered, with this specific setup anyways.
승리의 보람과 세상의 아름다움에 대해 들어본 적 있는가? 없어도 전혀 상관없다네. 지금 우리가 보는 경치가 바로 그런 것일 테니.
And that's how I beat the middle Nurse Father Matthias, and also Mirror Dungeon Extreme mode, using only the Queen of Hatred. Most of the run outside of that one fight is just not that interesting, honestly. It's just... it basically boils down to spamming the ego and letting Sharp Needle and Thread just kill everything. Which is always fun. I think my second favorite fight after Matthias was like one of the Envy Pecatulum floors, where you just pop the ego and it just deletes them all instantly. It's very fun to do that. But anyways, hopefully I will be making more consistent videos from now on. I wish I could promise that, but I don't trust myself. So, anyway, that's it for me. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you whenever I decide to make a new one. Goodbye.